You know, us sports moms have something to say.
Yes, we do.
We'll have a chance to interview across the board, from athletes to the parents to the coaches to even the trainers.
Yeah. And we're not afraid to share our journey. We're not afraid to tell other moms what we went through in order to raise up a student athlete. So I believe that it's inspirational.
Yeah. We able to tell our story, the good and the bad.
Yeah. We can give back positive information.
Absolutely.
You know, we can empower them.
Yeah, I think it's time for the mothers to be a voice.
Yeah,
yes. That's it.
It's time for us to let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your girl, Shannon, at Can We Talk Sports. I am here with my hosts.
I'm Carmen, a.k.a. Mama D. How are you guys this evening?
Mama D. Karen, what was you doing? I'm sorry. Go ahead. Do it again, Karen. Go ahead.
I'm Karen, a.k.a. Karen.
Did she say a.k.a. Karen?
Yeah.
Karen, this not we got to get another AKA.
You're not practicing with me.
You can't have AKA Karen. You can't have your first name as your AKA.
Oh, you can have
okay. She said this is Carmen, AKA Mama D.
Oh, okay. I was mixed up trying to share this video. You guys share this video. I was trying to share it. So this is Karen. What's up? I'm called K-Dog. I was K-Dog in high school. This is K-Dog. K-Dog. That's it. How about that? Is that better?
Whoa, we really gonna have to work with you. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. So listen, you guys, yesterday was a great show. It was fun. We had a good time. The guys have just been talking about the show. We laughed about it. Actually, I went back and watched the show and was cracking up. Icy had me, oh my gosh. She said, give her, what did she say, 5'2"?
5'2" and a quarter.
She said, give me my quarter. Really? Oh man, I was cracking up from the show. It was so funny. And the guys, they did good. They did good. I was pretty proud of them.
I was so impressed with them, Shannon. I was so impressed with them. The questions were excellent. They're so well spoken. They're funny.
Yeah.
Just doing a really excellent job.
Y'all don't see
I enjoyed the questions.
Y'all don't see behind the scenes. I be choking them. What you talking about? I'm like,
train them up well. Train them up well.
Exactly. Y'all better get this right. Y'all better act like y'all know what y'all doing. No, stop. But it was good. I was very proud of them. Very proud of them. So.
It was good. And tell them we appreciate them bringing us on. That was our first interview. They did the first interview of interviewing the moms. It was great.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it. There's some more that they want to talk about, but I know one of the subjects is they really want to just talk about what they go through as men when it comes to relationships and the challenges that they face. And, they're already criticized, or some of them really are good fathers. They're good guys, but you get with the wrong person and, because there's a stigma as being athletes, then they're looked at as, no good or trifling. And so they want to really tell their truth. Like, there are some that are out there. There are some guys that are trifling, let's be 100. But then there's those that are really good guys, and so and vice versa. You got the same thing with the girls. You got some decent athlete females out there, and then they get some of these dudes that just, I've heard of some that just walked away from their sports to be in a relationship. Yeah.
That's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, because I was told, I can't remember, but someone told me a story about a female. She got all the way to a certain level in ball and gave it up to be in a relationship. I tell you what, I'll say that right now.
No.
You see my face? If my daughter called me, tell my mom I done walked away from basketball for a man, let me tell you something. Tell them don't come home.
Right. I mean, let me tell you about this story. Oh, I'm sorry, Carmen. Go ahead.
I'm
I'm just wondering, like, what's the thought process of a person that would allow you to walk away from something that you love that much
Jealousy.
for them? Like,
Especially if you're with someone and they're not doing nothing
and
and
they're
you
not supporting you?
it's jealousy, right? Because it is it's not a good balance, especially if you have somebody that doesn't have goals, that's not doing nothing, but they're watching you excel. What do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna be like, oh no, you don't. It don't take all that. Oh no, you ain't got to do all of that. It's jealousy.
They're going
That's
to
why
be pulling you down. And that's that unevenly yoked thing
and it
that
doesn't matter.
God talks about. You know,
Well,
Right?
you know, I think my son, let me tell you the situation with my son. I think he was just a little gullible, you know. I mean, this might have been his first relationship, you know. And so what, you know, she had actually talked him into marrying her before they went off to college because they could get a better loan or Pell Grant.
package. Hmm.
And I said, "What? You
Not
gonna what?"
not you, Karen. Karen, you was all in that, weren't you? You was like,
I was like, "What are you talking about? Where'd you
Nope.
get that from? Where did you?"
Nope.
And I know my son is not the type of person that go and search this stuff out. And then God brought it to my attention, and I called the school and I was asking them about, you know, if they came in married versus unmarried. And so she was like, yeah, they would get a higher tax, you know, credit or, you know, money for school. And I was like, no, you are not finna just up and hurry up. We're talking like within a month of him going off to college, he was talking about marrying her in order to get more money. I said, no, you're not gonna
she
do that.
wasn't marrying him for the school money. She thought he was gonna go be a professional football player. She was trying to get her foot in the door before. Boy, don't get me started.
No,
I keep telling y'all that it's funny because people tiptoe around that subject, but we have to open that door because guys, you know, when they go off to college, they're exposed to so much. And even the females are exposed to so much. And you have to tell them, watch out for this, watch out for that. And it's so vital, that's why it's so vital to have a father in the home, because a father can help her daughter understand the true meaning of the ins and outs and what's a man and what's not a man. Vice versa, the mother tells her son, listen, especially if you're, you know, walking as a true woman. I ain't talking about no female and no hooch. I'm talking about a woman. And you can tell your son, this is what you look for, because once they close that door and go to college, it's like all calls come out. And if they sniff success, it's like, hey, baby, what's your name? You know what I'm saying? They come looking clean and dolce'd up and ain't got 5 cents in their pocket. But that's like what
can't take you to the movies.
movies. Can't even take you to Quick Trip to get a pack of gum. Forget a movie. But we have to talk about that. And you do, in these guys, and like I said, not all, but the ones that are really grounded, they get caught up. And a lot of them, they have babies. And these girls come after them like, you're my meal ticket.
right.
And they don't understand you're affecting someone's life.
Yes.
Vice versa, even with the females, you know, and dating a guy and he's stalking her, and you're affecting a life.
Yeah, but you know, we have to do it on the other side of it, as far as, you know, telling our boys they cannot spread their seed everywhere. They have to be
Exactly.
selected. So we
That's
have to
true
educate
too.
them on that side, you
That's
know.
right.
You know, just because you're a superstar don't mean that you should lay down with everybody. You should be selective or not, you know. And it's hard to tell them because they're going off to college, they want to have fun, but they still should have some kind of integrity about who they, you know, sleep with and
Well, I
stuff.
told my son, you know, listen, the decision you make will be with you the rest of your life. And he's dealing with that. It's like the decision you made will be attached to you the rest of your life. And I told him all the truth. I tell Jay, the decision you make, good or bad, can be a part of your life the rest of your life. So yeah, it's a subject we got to talk about. Like you said, on the other side, it's like, sit down, you know, stop You are not the fireman. Stop spraying everybody. See, see, that's a show, y'all. We might have to get some filters for this show with me, because it might become a bleep, 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 bleep. Man, it just hurts, you know. Think of, you know, before we move on, think about it. How many innocent young men have been to jail over a lie? And I even saw one where the cheerleader from it was an NFL. I think she was in the NFL or NBA. Anyway, she was a professional cheerleader. She called the cops, said he was harassing her and beating her, right? Well, he filmed the conversation. So when the cops got there, they were going to come from him. It showed it. He said, wait a minute. He showed the cops what really happened, because she didn't know he was filming it. It was her doing it, but he had set it up where he was filming it, and she was going to put him in jail.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
I was like, really? Yeah. So anyway, we can go on and on about that, but listen, this show is really this is a special show. We had an opportunity. We had Coach Lewis on a couple months ago. Oh, phenomenal interview. I don't know if you guys seen it, and maybe we'll replay it, but it was such a phenomenal interview, and high spirit. He was so encouraging and so amazing. And we were actually going to have his wife on right after, and we got a call, and he had passed away. So it kind of took us all by surprise. So it was real emotional. And so we have his wife here, which is so amazing, you know, to hear her story. And strong as she is, she's like, I still want to come on the show. So we salute her for this, and we can't wait to talk to her, because I know she's got some funny stories, because we're about to talk to the coaches' wives. So we get to hear that side, because, you know, you hear all the coaches and they chest be out. But we about to talk to the wives to say what really be going on when that door closed and they done lost the game, and that joker running around there pouting and crying. She gonna tell it all. So we cannot wait to talk to her. Miss Darlene, we'll be right back after this.
No coaches were injured before, after, or during the filming of this video. While these are hypothetical situations, these do not necessarily reflect the thoughts, attitudes, and actions of our actual wives.
Against these guys and that defense, the playbook's open.
This is going to depend on the situation.
I got a play for you. It's called Get My Oil Changed.
Why was Wayne yelling at you?
When is the camp?
The Glacier Clinic is this weekend? That's my birthday.
So what are the plans for today?
I got a coaches meeting this afternoon.
Wayne, it's Mother's Day.
Do you need me to go scout?
Date night Friday night?
Who are we scouting? Am I going to see you today?
When are you coming home?
Can you get the kids?
Can you take the kids with you this time?
When are you coming?
Oh yeah, don't forget, we have dinner at 6 with my friends from work.
Please don't ask me what's for dinner.
Don't forget about dinner tonight. You can wear anything but coaching gear.
How many people are coming for dinner?
Are you guys gonna lose tonight? You get so grumpy when you lose.
Are you gonna be a grouch all weekend?
What was the name of that team we played tonight? Because their outfits were really ugly.
Who we play this week? Ugh, I really don't like their fans.
Who are we playing this week?
Do you guys play Central this week?
Yep.
If it's bad at halftime, will you be mad if I leave early?
One of the girls at work, her son goes there. She says you guys recruit.
You guys looked slow tonight for some reason.
Hey, big win tonight.
Yeah, well, if you don't fix those special teams, you're not going to be winning anymore.
Who's number 39? Is he good or bad? Because his parents were really mad he didn't get to play.
Hey, you're home early.
Yeah, what you got planned tonight?
You need help cutting out your play cards, don't you?
Don't you have an assistant for that?
No. Don't worry about it. I'll fix the dishwasher.
Who's paying for that? Us?
Why is my dishwasher full of water bottles?
Are they paying you for that?
Just thought you should know they put for sale signs in the yard again.
Oh yeah, Winston's mom called. She sounded mad.
I'm not sure what they're doing, but it's almost like they know what we're doing.
That's a fire zone, but your receivers are chipping the play. Wayne, darn expo markers.
Listen, she said, I know what play you gonna cause, change my oil. That was a good one. Welcome to the show, Miss Darlene. How are you?
I'm doing well, ladies. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so excited to have you. We have so much
Yeah.
to talk about. I want to start off with a tribute just to Coach Lewis. I mean, he, from what our interview, amazing, just from that moment. Very positive. I mean, just outgoing, made us laugh. So if we can you kind of tell everybody a little bit about Coach Lewis?
Absolutely. Wow. We met in college, our freshman year in college, and we hung out, and then we started hanging out more, and then we became boyfriend and girlfriend, and on and on it went. We were together for 7.5 years before we got married, and probably the first few were kind of the on and off stuff, and then I have other things I say about that part, but then we got on to just being he and I, and we got married in 1990, and we're married for 30 years. Wow. He really was, all the stuff you said about being positive. If I could share the stuff I've gotten from his former athletes, you ladies would just be amazed. I mean, 30 years of coaching is a lot, and he impacted a lot of lives, and that was what he wanted to do, and he impacted them positively. I've had so many kids send me letters and say, I wouldn't be the man I am today without Coach Lewis's influence, and I didn't like him then because he was hard on me, but it made me the man I am today, and I've been successful in my business. I've been, a good husband and father, and I owe a lot of that to him. So he really did have that impact, and that was his intent. He wanted to impact kids in a positive way.
Wow. Okay, go ahead, Carrie. You got something?
But behind every good man is a good wife. So obviously, in order for him to do what he was able to do, you were taking care of the home. So that's what I'm ready to get into that.
Well, thank you. That was my job, and I enjoyed it. I love being a coach's wife, and I grew up with a coach. My dad was a coach in high school. He coached football and track and cross country. So, I learned how to be a coach's wife from my mom. She was like some of those ladies on that video. How many people are coming for dinner? And he just shows up with people, and they're here, and she fed them. So, I did learn that from her, and the patience part of it. Even, high school's gotten a lot different now because it's much more involved than it used to be. High school used to be they'd go to practice and come home and didn't worry about anything. It's much different than that now. It's a lot more like college is now, because college it's crazy. It's a crazy schedule.
Yeah, it is crazy work.
Yeah, they can work for 15 to 18 hours a day and get up and do it all over again the next day. And it's crazy. You can't be a needy person to be a coach's wife because they're not home a lot. You have to learn to do stuff for yourself, like putting up blinds or that kind of stuff is just that's stuff I do. Matter of fact, when we first moved into this house, I was putting up a curtain in my daughter's room, and I messed up, and I was in there just looking at it. I was kind of cussing it. What did I do wrong here? And he's out in the bonus room, and he leans back and looks in. He's like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. I said, I know. I'll figure it out. Just give me a minute. I'd help you, but I don't have any idea what you're doing. I said, yeah, I know. So, you can't be too needy.
Yeah. So you guys have two beautiful children, a boy and a girl, right?
We do. Marvin is actually the video coordinator for UTEP football, University of Texas, El Paso. And Kiana lives here with us, thank goodness. She lives here and works here in Nashville. She works for a company called IQ Talent Partners, and she's a senior associate. She does recruiting and sourcing for different companies. The companies hire IQ to fill positions at their companies, so she does that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's jump right in. Coach's wife. We see so many. We see the coaches, and we see the wives. We meet the wives, but we don't never get to go behind the scenes of what really goes on at home and what wives deal with. And like I said, when the coach, like when they were showing the video, and the coach come home and they done lost, and she's looking at him like, "You're pouting again," or "Your defense should have ran this way," and so. I think that's funny. And then at the same time, the kids growing up dealing with a father that's a coach or a mother that's a coach, because you have sometimes those parents want their child to play a sport. And so tell us the journey of a coach's wife.
Okay. Well, our journey, the thing is, in coaching, you can't ever feel like you're going to be in one spot forever, because unless you're Joe Paterno's family or, some of these people that have been at these places for years and years and years, it's just not going to happen, because as you move up the ladder, you go to a different place, take a new position, and usually means a different school. So when we first started, we didn't have to move very much. I was actually teaching school in Oregon, and we got married and we're living in Albany, Oregon, and I was teaching about 45 minutes one way, and he got his first coaching job at Western Oregon State College, and he was going about 30 minutes the other way, and then we'd meet back at home at night. And we were there for just 2 years, and then he was hired back at our alma mater at Oregon State. And so we were able to be there for 6 years. So we didn't have to move during that whole time, because it was all right in the same area. So that was great. And then the coach retired at Oregon State, and then we weren't retained with the new staff, which was heartbreaking, because it's our alma mater. And, you have people telling you, there's no way they're going to let you go. Why wouldn't they want you here? You played here. You were an All-American here. Why they wouldn't let you guys go? They did. And so he was able to get on at the University of Illinois. So that was our first big move as far as, leaving home. I got on that plane and thought, oh, this is a long way from home. I'd never been away from home. I grew up in Albany, Oregon, and went to school at Oregon State, which is like 10 miles away. And so I was never away from home. So that was a really tough move. But we loved Illinois. We were there for 6 years. And then he got an opportunity to go to the University of New Mexico. And so we were there for 5 years. And then University of Texas, El Paso, UTEP for 2 years. And then he went to the Hartford Colonials. That was a UFL team. He was the defensive coordinator there. And then got on at San Diego State for 5 years. And then we've been at Vanderbilt for 4 years. So, the journey is different for everybody, because everybody's situation is different. And so you have to kind of be up for the challenge, I guess, or the ride, because you probably aren't going to be in one spot or one city or one state even for your entire career. So I guess that's probably one of the biggest parts of the journey, is you kind of sign up to be on the move when you need to be on the move, and to be left behind, because when you're at one school and your husband gets a job at a different school, he's gone. His job starts usually immediately. And so that leaves the wife and kids, if they have them, home to finish everything else up, and then get the house ready to sell if if you own a home and all that stuff, and then you join them whenever you can. But it is quite a journey, and you kind of have to be ready to just jump in and go. And it isn't always easy. I mean, I'm not saying, oh yeah, I was just ready to go, so I went. It can be a challenge.
So it's like military. It's like the military. Then
yeah, it is a little bit. People have said that, and I guess it is as far as the moving. But obviously, I guess people get mad about football. His life was never really in danger on the football field most of the time, I guess, unless somebody was really mad about a loss. But yeah, it is with the moving. It is, because you often don't have a choice of where you're going to go. I mean, you do because you can turn down a job, but when you're trying to better yourself professionally, and you kind of go where there's a job. So, yeah.
Right. That's your livelihood.
Right.
Now, how was the move for the children?
That's probably the hardest part because, like when they were babies, well, even when they were babies, we moved away from Oregon when the kids were 1 and 3. And then we got to Illinois, and like I said, that was my first time far away from home. And my son would get really angry and stomp his foot and cry and say, "I just want to see Grammy and Poppy." And I'd stomp back and say, "So do I. We can't right now." So it was challenging. But then as they get older, we left there. The kids were in 1st and 3rd grade. And then when we left Albuquerque to go to El Paso, they were in middle school. Our son had just finished 8th grade. And so I was working at a school as an educational assistant. I went over to the 8th grade celebration or graduation thing, and he didn't want to leave. He was, didn't think he was ever going to see his friends again. And of course, you're not that far away. Albuquerque, El Paso, about 4.5 hours, or 3.5 hours. But you don't see people like you did all the time. So he's upset. And then I get back to school, and Jose calls me. He's like, "Well, how'd it go?" I said, "Look, here's how it went. Next time we go through something like this, and the kids are all upset, you go take them to their 8th grade cell when they're crying, saying goodbye to their friends. This is ripping me apart." I said, "Right. You just go on with your new job." So, there were a couple of times like that.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. Carmen, you have a question?
I do. And just by saying that, it just seems like to me, he gets this new job and he's all excited. So he's on and doing his, dream thing. And you're left back at home, picking up the pieces and trying to mend everything and make everything right. So that's tough. So,
It is.
yeah.
I was just going to say, you learn early on, that's what you do. So it wasn't, when I said that to him, I was halfway joking, but halfway like, you don't have to go through any of this.
Right.
How did you tell us about the pressure of winning? Because like you said, if you're not winning, you're off to the next job. Like they'll cut you in a minute. So tell us from the wife's perspective, like, how did you deal with them not winning? And how did you deal with parents screaming at your husband when you're in the stands listening?
Yeah. The winning part is always stressful because like we stopped getting the newspaper because if you lose, it's just everything negative. Fire the coaches, get rid of this staff, Sometimes the staff's doing a great job and the kids aren't executing.
Right.
I mean, that can happen. Is that always the case? No. And sometimes there does need to be a coaching change. I get that. But it's stressful. That part of it is stressful because you're like, oh God, we're 0-3. Is this the year we're going to get fired and have to move again and have to tell the kids, here we go again? And so that part does get hard. The stuff in the stands, I guess my dad would say you can't have bunny ears or rabbit ears. You can't listen to everything that goes on, but it's hard not to. It's hard not to when they aren't doing well. And there have only been a few times when I've said something bad to people in the stands. Like, I've done pretty good for 30 years. I mean, there were just a few times when I've said, and I never swore at anybody. I never, I don't think I was disrespectful. I just kind of had something to say and said it. So, I felt like it needed to be said. And so it's hard. It's hard to hear people say bad stuff about your coaches and even those kids, because those kids feel like mine too. Especially when my husband was coaching a position and those position kids felt like my kids. I always call them my boys. And so you do kind of, take offense to that when somebody's talking about your kids. If they miss a play, everybody's going to miss a play. I mean, there's not a perfect player out there in the whole world. I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're an All-American. You're going to miss a play once in a while. So, they also got to understand these are kids. I know you're into this game and you're going crazy and you want to win. I get that. Trust me, I get that. But you also got to remember these are 18 to 23-year-old kids that you're putting all this pressure on, and they signed up for it. They know it. I get that too, but you got to also understand there will be mistakes made, and they're only human. So
Now,
give them a
look,
break.
I'm going to say this. The Lord knew not to make me a coach wife. Because I hear one of them jokers say something about my husband. I'm flying, I'm coming from the stands. I'm standing up like, what you say, you need to say it to me. So the Lord knew not to make me a coach's wife. Because when my son was going to the NFL, and my sister, he really knew not to make her a coach wife. So my sister was like, I don't know what she was looking at. Somebody said something about Jordan. And she said, I'm about to clap back on social. I said, you can't do that. I said, she said, no, they said something about my nephew. I said, you can't do that. So our family, Lord knew not to let me or my two sisters marry a coach.
That's one thing. Take a special person, just like a pastor's wife.
Really do.
It really does.
do. Even like don't get started on the pastor's wife. But I'll be like, no, you better go pray for yourself. Don't you call my house.
Oh yeah, no, I get it.
She getting us like it's just like, are you really calling here at 2 a.m. for a play? I said, no, I wouldn't. Wow. Go ahead, Karen. You got a question?
No, I like the fact that you were a coach's kid as well as a coach's wife. So you got to hear that both angles. And so, can you remember as a kid being in the stands and people hollering about your dad? How did you deal with that? And then how did you deal with your kids being in the stand and they hearing something about their dad?
Okay, so most of the time, because most of the comments are usually directed towards the head coach, and Osei wasn't the head coach, but you still take offense because like Derek and Leanne Mason, the head coach and his wife at Vanderbilt are really good friends. They're like family to us. So it would infuriate me when people are saying bad stuff about him too. And so growing up, it was different because my dad actually had stopped coaching football by the time I was born. He got hurt and didn't feel like he had back surgery and didn't feel like he could show the kids what he wanted them to do. So he stepped down and did track and cross country. So I was mostly I grew up at track meets. I mean, all my young years were at track meets because my mom went to all of them. So it was different. It was very different because they're usually yelling at the kids and not the coaches in track because it's very individual and that kind of stuff. But as far as my kids, going to school sometimes could be hard if they weren't having a good season, wherever we were. Mostly older, not usually Illinois because we left there when they were in first and third grade. So that really wasn't an issue. But as they went on, sometimes they would say stuff at school. And, I think they handled it pretty well. I don't think it was ever horrible, but they, of course, would always defend their dad and their dad's team, no matter what. Because they also know, a coach's kid grows up knowing there's stuff you talk about in your house that doesn't leave these four walls. It doesn't go any place besides here because there's stuff we have to talk about, but it's nobody else's business. It doesn't leave the football family. So, they learn a lot growing up. I mean, they get involved. We lost to, I think it was Ohio State when we were in Illinois. My son was in tears, sobbing coming out of the stadium and just, so sad. And we had kind of gotten ripped off because, I mean, if you can look back at this play, they said we didn't make a catch and they said he didn't have possession. They show in the newspaper the next day, he's got both feet in and he's got possession of the ball. And it's like, really still? Yeah. So, those kind of things stick with you. Yeah, my son was crying but, on the other hand, they've grown up going to bowl games and gotten to see how fun that is and be around the other coaches' kids. And there's a lot of positives. The moving around part, I've always told them, it's hard to move. It's definitely hard to move. But look at all the people we know all over the country we never would have had an opportunity to know. We've got some great friends all over the country. And, we've been very, very fortunate. So, I also think coaches' kids are very resilient. they have to deal with a lot. Their dad's not home a lot. It's not different than like an absentee father, that's never there, but they're not there. They don't get to go to games and stuff a lot, or, if your kids are athletes, and they miss out on a lot. So I do think they're resilient, and they have to move around and they get used to it.
It's tough, it's like, moving around. I was military, and so, but I was 3 when my mom and dad actually divorced, but my sisters went through moving from place to place and meeting new friends. But then the difference, I think, as a coach's wife, vice versa, even if there's a female coach and her husband has to deal with the kids, when you're around the team, they're getting a lot of attention that a kid at home is like, man, Dad, I'm not getting that same attention. So there's balance that got to take place, because you're around these guys 24/7. They look to you like dad. You're there when they're going through. You're visiting. It's so there's those things that the kids go, you kind of miss this day to day, or you miss this opportunity, but you were there for their opportunity, for their big win or their big opportunities. And so, how did your kids balance that out?
I don't know that we ever really felt like that. They knew that he missed stuff, obviously, but whenever he could, he would break away and come to a game or do, probably the worst part. Well, I shouldn't say that. We lived apart for 4 years, because when our kids got to high school, we were in El Paso, and then he got let go at UTEP, but then he went to Hartford, Connecticut, and the coach there said, this league is unstable, the UFL, so don't move your family here, because I don't know how long it's going to last. Well, 1 year it lasted, and then he went to San Diego State, and then the kids were in high school, and our plan all along was to not have to take them out of high school, to have them change high schools. I mean, I loved my high school, and I grew up listening to my mom, who grew up in San Francisco, and then her family moved to Portland, Oregon, her senior year in high school. And so she hated it. She hated her school. She didn't have good friends, because, you've been with these kids till you're a junior in high school, and then all of a sudden you're a senior and you move. And so our kids know the sacrifice that we made for them. We lived apart for 4 years. We didn't love that, but we felt like it was best for the kids. And I still feel like it was best for the kids. Do I wish I could have those 4 years back, especially now? Absolutely. But it still was the best for the kids. And they thank me now to this day. They're very thankful that we didn't uproot them during high school. Lots of kids do it. Lots of coaching families do it. We just opted not to do that. We thought it was in the best interest of our kids not to do that. So I don't know that they ever felt like, the football players were more important than them. They loved when the guys came over for dinner, they get to see these kids on a whole nother level. I mean, you guys have had athletes, you know how people are just like, these guys. And then the kids, somebody would say, oh, what did you do last night? Oh, well, my dad's linebackers came over. My dad's defensive line came over. Oh, from the Illini or from, wherever. And they're like, yeah. It's like, really? So that was kind of cool. And when Kiana was 1, when we moved to Illinois, she'd just walk through and just say, hey, there's a guy named Ryan Murphy. And she'd go, hey, Murph. Just like, it was just a giant guy, and she's this little itty bitty 1-year-old. And so they were not fazed by that kind of stuff. But I think they thought it was pretty special to be able to hang out with those guys and go play on the field and go tackle daddy after practice and, that kind of stuff. So I don't know that they ever felt like, those guys were pushing out their spotlight or whatever. I'm not sure they ever felt that way.
Wow.
That's good. That's good. I have a question from Coach. When you're at the job and you have all these kids that you are mentoring, how did he come home and transition and leave the team there and focus on his own kids? How did that work for him?
Well, it's also, again, it's different for every family. Some families, I know a couple of people who don't ever talk football at home. Well, that definitely wasn't our house, because I had questions after the games. So, what the heck happened on Thursday? You guys met all the way down the field. Are you kidding?
So you was that coach wife. You was that like, Why did you run that play? You
You're
know you should
coaching.
run that play. Right.
I didn't question the plays, but I was like, what the heck happened? It was like 3rd and 23 and they get a first down and then they score. Are you kidding me? So he's like, Dar, I know, I was there, I saw it. So, but other people are different. Other people don't talk about it at all. He didn't have too much trouble transitioning. Our door was always open. Our phones were always on for any of his players that needed him at any time of the day or night. And that's just how it was. And my kids knew that growing up. And I knew that, and I didn't mind that at all, because there's a couple of times that he really helped some kids out in the middle of the night where just, one kid was contemplating suicide and they thought he might commit suicide, and he grabbed another coach and they went over to the stadium and they talked to this kid, and matter of fact, I heard from him after Osia died. So that's just how we did it. We wanted that open door and always here for you kind of policy.
All right, so let's get to some juicy questions. All right, so as a coach's wife, some of them players have single mamas. Did you have any challenge with women trying to hit on your husband?
Not that I know of.
Because you do, and I've seen them. I mean, like even in the little leagues, and you'll see the mom come and you're like, oh, she really trying to hit on the coach, and so
I don't think any parents, but I will tell you this. Several years ago, he was in Miami. He was recruiting in Miami. I can't even remember what school we were at now. Anyway, he was in Miami recruiting, and this girl came up and said, hey, where are you from? He's like, go to class. I mean, she was a high school student, and he was there recruiting, and he was like, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe this girl was talking to me like that. He just walked away and told her to go to class. But I'm like, come on. So yeah, I haven't had any problems like that. There was one mom at one of the schools we were at that was, I don't know what her problem was, but she always would run to the head coach and complain about stuff. And, I think Osia told you, don't talk to me about playing time.
Right.
I'm not going to talk to your mom about playing time. You come and talk to me as an athlete and then we'll talk, but you're not having your mom come in and talk to me about playing time. You're in college now.
Right.
You shouldn't. And so there was one lady and her son didn't want to do what he was told and was kind of always, I don't know if he was in trouble, but he wasn't good enough to get more playing time at that time. And she was always in there complaining. She didn't like him. She didn't like me because he walked up and interrupted a conversation I was having one time. And I snapped back at him, and because I was talking to a mom, and she was like, well, I think the moms should get those too, because we get pendants. When the guys get rings for championships or bowl games or whatever, then the wives get pendants.
Wow, that's nice.
And she was saying, yeah, they're beautiful. She was saying how she thought the moms should get one too. We're the ones raised them. I said, no, I get it. And the kid came up to me and said, you didn't raise me. I said, you know what? You're right, because if I did, you would not be interrupting an adult conversation right now, and you'd be a lot more polite. And he just kind of looked at me. Well, he went home and told his mom, and then she went and complained to the head coach. I'm like, are you serious? Is this really what this is going to be? So, yeah, she didn't like Oats. She didn't like me, but I wasn't like that. I usually don't meet a lot of the parents. These days, it used to be different. When we first started out, they used to have a tent where the parents would go and eat before the games back when we were at Oregon State. And the wives were always invited to come and meet the parents. I love that because you get a chance to know their kids, but you don't know the parents. So I love that because you had an opportunity to get to know them also. But I haven't had that problem.
Now, as a coach's wife, with other coaches' wives, I mean, there's times that you had to mentor the new ones that came in that were a little younger and didn't understand what was going on. As a coach's wife, how was that? Did you have times where you had to mentor other coaches' wives?
I don't know if you ever have to. If anybody ever asks me anything, I'm happy to talk about our experiences. Again, everybody's experiences are different. As a young coach's wife, I was always happy to listen to everybody. You're not going to be best friends with every wife on every staff. You're just not going to be. I've not been on a staff where people just like really didn't like each other, but I have heard about those staffs. But you get along with everybody, and you're closer to some than you are with others. And I was always happy to get any experience information from anybody when I was young. Now, some of the younger coaches' wives now, they're not as interested as talking to well, I guess they call us seasoned wives now instead of older wives. But some of them are interested and some of them aren't that interested. So it kind of just depends. You're never in a role where you have to mentor somebody. We do part of the Coaches Wives Association that we're going to talk about. They have a seasoned wives, new wives group where they pair you up, a seasoned wife with a new wife, and then you get to know each other. And it was great. I did it one year and it was awesome. I got to know a gal, through email and text, and then we finally got to meet at convention, and it's been great. So those are kind of cool things where people are in it because they want to be in it and they want to be mentored. You can't just go around throwing out what you think should happen and how you think people should act. Although I've also been on staffs where somebody has had to say, hey, you need to not do this and you need to not do that kind of thing. So, but that doesn't come from me. That comes from like the head coach.
Carmen, you got a question?
Go ahead,
Karen.
I think, what you said about your life and going to different places and stuff, I think that is so valuable to a young wife. They really have to understand that when they get married, what really comes along with the job. And you were truly a helpmate because you had to hold down the house, the kids and everything while he sought out his dream and livelihood for the family. I mean,
Right.
I think that would be so valuable to any young wife.
Well,
I appreciate that.
Well, like she said, the younger wives, I mean, now that you see it, you got reality shows and they real bougie. Not all of them, but they're bougie, and they carry themselves different than back when Miss Darlene, because it was more family oriented. You didn't have cell phones. You didn't have all what you have now. So you really just had true family values that you work with. Mm-hmm. Now you have cell phones. Everybody got to have the latest cars. You got to have the cutest purse. So now not all. You hear what I'm saying? Not all, but you probably have some coaches' wives or groups. I won't say groups, where it's just about the latest purse, and what your husband make, and if he's on, what level he is at as a coach, and so it's different, and they don't want to hear from, those that are seasoned, because they think you got to figure it out. And now these days you got nannies who take care of the kids, and so it's a different time. It really is. But from listening to Miss Darlene, the kids were very well stable. Mm-hmm. And you can see that, and you can hear that from where they are now compared to these kids today, where the nanny's usually raising them, or a certain situation. It all depends on the level of the coaching, what the coach is, but it's a different time. So yeah, Karen, it
absolutely is.
Miss Carmen, you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering. You mentioned the kids, and you mentioned them like their dad missing sports. But tell me, as a coach, like, did he coach them in any sports? And what kind of sports did they kind of go towards? Your kids.
Well, they did a lot, to be honest with you. Kiana tried everything when she was young. She tried ballet and tap and flag football and basketball, and I don't know if she ever played soccer. Marvin did soccer. Track and field was a big one. They both played basketball. So Marvin played football until the 8th grade, and then he got hit at practice and couldn't get up. Like, he kind of lost feeling for a few seconds, but they kept him down and called an ambulance, and they did an MRI and saw that he had stenosis of the spine, where your spine narrows. There's not as much room for your spinal cord. So they said he probably shouldn't play football, and that was okay with me. People are like, oh, aren't you sad he's not playing football? I'm like, not really. I mean, I love football. Everybody knows that. I love football, but I'd rather see my son walk in the door and dance around the house and be goofy and, than
Yes.
to not be able to do that. So he still did track. He still did basketball. Basketball was his favorite. And so, yeah, that's what they did. Kiana tried everything. In high school, she did basketball and track. And she did both school and then club. So they were very involved in sports. And I videotaped, I recorded everything. I had my little camcorder, everything. So I have all those, so Osei could see them, and we have those. So
And Dad
that's
got
fun.
to see them.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't there, he got to see them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good. See, right there, you guys was working it. I mean, I just love that. I mean, because you understand him not being there, but yet you made sure that he was able to capture those moments of his kids.
That's
while
the
he was
season. That's the seasoned. Why? You understand what I'm saying? That's that seasoned teaching that she can say, listen, as the new coaches' wives come in, listen, film this, do this, capture this, so when he's not there, he's still there.
Yeah,
right.
That's the difference.
So you also got to transition from when you're just coach and Mrs. Coach to when now you've got kids. Because now, like, what happens at the games? People are awesome. They take their kids to the games. I did not when they were young, because you know what? I was home with them all week, and that was my time to go tailgate and go to the game. I didn't want to go to the concession stand. I didn't want to go to the restroom. I wanted to go watch the game. So I found a babysitter. And at home it was easy because we knew people. I grew up in Albany, so I found someone. When we moved to Illinois, we went to the Children's Learning Center or whatever it was called on campus, and found somebody there, and they came. I get somebody for the whole season, so I would have all the home games covered, and it was awesome. And they knew it would be like a whole day thing. I'm going to go tailgate. I'm going to go to the game. I'm going to wait for my husband, and then we'll be home. She'd be like, okay. So for a while I did that. And then Kiana was really naughty for one of our babysitters, and she quit. And I'm like, okay, guess what? Now you're coming to the games whether you want to or not. So after that, they started coming to games.
So that's what I was going to ask you. So what did Darlene do during this time? Like, how did Darlene stay focused as Darlene? Like, what was the things you like to do? What was your quiet times, and when was your times to get away and just say, okay, let me breathe 5 minutes so I won't lose Darlene?
Well, quiet's not something that really happens at our house a lot. My mom called one time when we were living in Illinois, and she's like, oh, honey, it sounds like you have a house full. I'm like, that would just be your grandkids. It's just the kids and I. So, no, you know what I did all while they were growing up was I volunteered at their school. So I was very well known at all the schools they were at because that's just what I did. I volunteered when they were little. Quiet time would be me being able to grocery store without them, do the grocery trips without them because they were in school, so I could run to the grocery store. When we lived in El Paso, in the warm times, I'd be in the pool while the kids were gone. They'd be like, you didn't answer your phone. I'm like, I don't take my phone in the pool. You're fine. So, but yeah, I volunteered when they got to high school at El Paso High. I was the president of the booster club, the basketball booster club. I ran concessions at El Paso. I did all the buying and all the setting up and stuff for the concessions there. We did concessions at UTEP to raise money for the basketball teams. I cooked for the teams on Tuesdays and Friday nights on game nights. I would be there after school and have food set up so the kids could come and eat before their games or before they got on a bus. And my husband would call and be like, you're not home? I'm like, no. He's like, you're the busiest person I know that's not working. I said, I know. I was never, ever home. So really my whole life has been my kids and my husband. And I loved it. I mean, I wouldn't have changed it for anything. I love it.
So how was date life?
How was date life for the kids or for Os and I?
For you and your husband. Did you guys ever find time to just get away?
Yeah, you know what? When we lived in Illinois, he recruited continually. It seemed like he was never off the road. And so as soon as recruiting got over, I had our babysitter lined up, and we would leave Friday and go to Chicago for Friday and Saturday nights. We'd go spend the weekend in Chicago, just the two of us. I'm like, I need a break. Let's go. So I would have her lined up, and off we'd go to Chicago. And the kids were still pretty little back then. And so we did that kind of thing sometimes. Not a lot, but we did those kind of things. We'd go out to dinner occasionally without them. But, he was gone so much that we included them in a lot of what we did, if we went out to dinner or something, because he didn't see them all day, or, I saw him all day, but he didn't get to see them all the time. So just in an effort to give them some more time with him, they went with us.
So you had to balance it, with, making sure they got a chance to see daddy. And then when you was like, I need just daddy, get the babysitter, I'm out. I got your clothes back, let's go.
Yeah, and I
probably walking to go. Stay in the car. I'm coming out. We got to go.
Yeah, that was like that in Illinois. Right? Karen would be there. Our babysitter Karen would be there. I'd be like, okay, I'm out. He's home. We're gone. So we'd be gone for the weekend.
Wow. I tell you what. So tell us about the organization that you're a part of.
Okay, AFCWA, American Football Wives Association, Football Coaches Wives Association. I'm going to read this mission statement so I don't mess it up. It says, we strive to provide camaraderie, support, information, and service to the wives of American football coaches. And that's from high school to pro level. So it's all levels, and it's a fabulous organization. During the pandemic, we've had Zoom calls with members just to make them feel like they're not stuck at home, especially ones with little ones, or even without. I've gotten on several of them. I've led a couple of them, just to make people feel like they're just not stuck there by themselves. So we've done Zoom calls like that, and at the convention this year is January 10th to the 12th, if we're able to have it. Everything's tentative with this pandemic, so it's going to be here in Nashville again, and it's the AFCA it's the American Football Coaches Association convention, and then the wives also have a convention in conjunction. So that's a pretty cool time for wives to go with their husbands and hang out. And, for years, Osia would call me. I'd have both kids in the bathtub when they were baby, like, hey, we're at the karaoke, bro. I'd be like, really? I really don't even want to hear that. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm bathing the kids. All right. I'll talk to you later. Have fun. So for years, I wasn't able to go, but I've really, really enjoyed it, getting to know people. And now I'm on the board of directors. So it's a great organization, good group of ladies, and kind of like that show The View. We all have different opinions about stuff, but we mesh them together to do the best for all the coaches' wives. And I love that it's high school to pro, because you meet so many cool people that you never would meet unless you're on the same staff with them, and I love that all-inclusive part, because one time somebody in Illinois said to me, you're really down to earth for a coach's wife. And I looked at her like, what are you talking about? Well, evidently she'd met somebody that maybe wasn't down to earth. I don't know. But she said, yeah, I don't know. Your husband's a college football coach. And I'm like, you know what? It's just like anybody else's job, except you read about us in the paper every week, Yeah. And people yell at us and stuff. But you can get to the top, but there's a real good chance you're going to get to the bottom. I mean, you don't ever take anything for granted in this life, ever, because as soon as you get someplace, you could have a losing season and be done the next year. You just don't know, injuries or whatever.
Yeah,
you don't know how it's going to pan out. So, we always, Osia and I both just went about it with that same attitude. You just can't take people for granted. You can't tromp on people when you're trying to get someplace, because you need to treat people with dignity and respect. And I think that he did a very good job of that in the coaching world, because the coaching world is not always fair.
No.
I mean, it's just not.
Tough. It's a little tough, and just listening to you, it just gives you another perspective and respect for coaches' wives, because you guys do go through a lot. Husband's not there, and and children, and especially if you have more. You have two. You have wives who have 4 and 5.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So their
God
load
love them.
their load is 10 times heavy, and so you just gain a different respect because you just see the coach. You don't really take in consideration what the wife goes through. And from you guys, you had a very solid marriage, children, where there's some that's not that solid.
Right.
Right. And so you just still, it gives you a different outlook and respect. So I tell you what, we appreciate you coming on the show. It was really good. Just to see the smile on your face. And as you talk about Coach Lewis, like I said, our interview with him, it was good. I mean, just straight positive.
Very good.
Yeah, he did nothing negative. You couldn't tell him nothing different, by this situation at the time. It was like, nope, this is what it is. And so,
when he was diagnosed 3 years ago, January, we both decided, I mean, obviously we were devastated, but then we both decided that we don't want to stop living. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. We want to keep living. We want to, battle this thing as well as we can. And we did it as a team. And I was there every step of the way for him. And when I was having a down day, he'd lift me up. When he was having a down day, I did my best to lift him up. I mean, he was going through a lot more than I was, with the treatments and stuff. But, we tried to make people feel comfortable, because when you're going through something like that, people are afraid to talk to you. Some people call me, like, I don't want to call Osa, to be like, he's sitting here watching TV. Do you want to talk to him? Is he really? I'm like, yeah. So he'd get on the phone, and it puts people at ease to be able to see him or talk to him or, whatever. So we tried to make people feel comfortable. We went through the cancer center, and people like, hey, coach. It was like he was a celebrity over there, because we also went to the cancer center. It's a very humbling place to be, because you guys saw Osei. He was big, he was strong, he appeared to be healthy, and I mean, he was, for what he was going through. And there are people at the cancer center who don't look like that. They have the grayish kind of cancer look or whatever, and he, thank God, never ever did that. He talked to you ladies 2 nights before he died, and you saw how full of life he was. He was happy. He was excited about the future. And like, his tumor marker was in the normal range. The cancer was still there, but it was stable. And that's the best you can ask for in that situation. And so he was very excited. And, he just went to bed Saturday night. And like we always did, we said, I love you to each other. And then he was gone Sunday morning. It was crazy. You always hear, we're never promised tomorrow, but that was an eye-opener, because we truly are never promised tomorrow. And I guess my advice might be, just don't take anybody for granted. Don't take your days for granted. We just don't know how long we're going to be here. And if you have somebody you're going to bed with every night, make sure you tell them you love them, because I am so grateful that was the last thing I said to him and he said to me. Wow. But I've gone back and listened to the show you guys did with him several times. When we've had people here, if they haven't seen it, we've watched it. And it's just really good to see him. That was just 2 days before he died. And it was very unexpected and very shocking and devastating, but he just looked so great, and he was so happy in that video. So I'm really happy he got to come on with you guys. I really am, because he loved it. He was very excited to come back again. I'm sorry he didn't get that chance.
Well, we were truly honored. And when we got the word, it was just like, wait, what? Are you sure? No, we just seen him 2 days ago. But, like I said, we enjoyed the interview. So, but before we go, Miss Darlene, we got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What? Now, we have to ask the coaches' wives, because we asked the coaches and we asked the players. What is the nicest thing you said to a ref or about a ref? You can plead the fifth.
Well, here's the deal. As a coach's wife, I didn't really ever, I would say, like, be a man ref, if they weren't making the call I thought they needed to make, or something like that, or are you kidding me? I didn't ever I never cussed at a ref, not out loud so people could hear me. At home was a whole nother story. Now, my neighbor, when we first moved in here, was like, "What were you screaming about?" I'm like, "Oh God, I should have closed my windows. It's football season." So no, I didn't say things really out loud, not bad. Like I said, I often said, "Be a man" or "Make the call" or something like that. But I didn't say too many bad things. Now, Osei did not tell you this, but when we were coaching at Oregon State, we had tickets to the basketball games. He would scream at the refs at the basketball game, so much so that they knew his name. "Coach, come on now." One guy's name was Booker. He's like, "Booker, come on." I'm like, oh my. So he got kicked out of our son's basketball game one time for yelling at the refs. So
you can tell that one. Yeah, he got kicked out. So we love asking that question before we close because it's an icebreaker, and it's so funny because everybody's like, well, one person said, "Did you have a nice ride on the way up here?" I was like, "That's what you said to them." So, and then our guy on our show yesterday, that one was the funniest one. Like, hey, he's like, "Listen, ref, we got money too. We could pay you too." And we were like, "Did you just say that to the ref?" Oh man, it was so funny. So we did a kick out of everybody's answers, but listen, it was great having you.
Thank you so much.
We gotta have you back again, and
I'd love it.
We'd love to visit or be a part of the organization just to see. One day we'll probably be able to go to a conference just to see what it's like. And tell others, because again, I think we always hear the coaches, but no one talks to the wives, or we always hear the coach, the women who coach, but no one talks to the husbands. And we got to go behind the scenes and get the whole picture. And this is what I like about it.
Whenever he had a young coach or somebody who played for him, "Hey coach, I think I'm going to get into coaching," and he'd tell me, I'd be like, "Does he have a girlfriend or a wife? Because I'd like to talk to them first." Right. Just to let them know what they're getting into.
Let me make sure you're ready for this, because it's kind of like you said, you did the cooking, you were there, it was kind of like a hand and foot. Coach didn't have to ask you, you already knew what to do. Okay, let me bake these brownies, or the guys are coming over, let me make enough dinner. And so it's like you was completing each other's sentences before you was even speaking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we were a good team. We definitely were a very good team. And I'll continue to be a team with my kids and I, because they're pretty special too. So I think we were perfectly suited for one another, and I miss him dearly every single day, but we carry him with us, and his legacy will live on. I still have his kids, his football players saying, Mama Lewis, you're going to make cookies again? When are we going to get some of those cookies? To this day, they still ask about the cookies. And just briefly, I know we want to go. You were talking about the family part of it, and I have had some of his kids, just the sweetest thing. One of them wrote me this long letter, and a couple of them have texted and said stuff that Osei said about me. One of them was like, he was at camp, and one of his players said to him, "Coach, you seem fired up today." It's like, "Damn right, my wife's getting here today." It's like when we were going down, I could see my wife today, and so stuff like that. And a couple of them said, he talked about you and the kids where other coaches don't ever do that. The other coaches I've had never did that. And he talked about you guys, and you could just tell how much he loved you. And so, that was pretty special that his former athletes came forward and told me that, because I don't know what he's saying to those guys. I mean, I know a lot of what he's saying, but not that I can repeat on your podcast. It was pretty cool that they took the time to let me know that they remembered a story about that. So yeah, he was definitely a special guy, and his legacy will live on. We're going to make sure of that.
Yeah. And tell them about caringbridge.org, what that is, the link that's going across.
Oh, the Caring Bridge site, I don't know if any of you ever seen that. If somebody is sick or anything, it's a good place to do updates, because you could post that and then everybody can go to that website and see your post. So that actually takes you from Osei's diagnosis until a couple weeks after his death. I wrote all of them. I think one time you wrote a message in there, but I enjoy writing, and it was therapeutic for me. And it really gives you an inside look at everything we went through on his cancer journey. And along those lines, one of the hardest things for him was was stepping away from football. As hard as the cancer was, it was just as hard, because that's where his heart and soul was. It was just as hard for him to step away from football. So a lot of what I talk about on those posts is how we dealt with that. And then it really does. It takes you pretty much from diagnosis till a little while after his death. And like I said, it was therapeutic, but I've also had several people tell me how inspirational it was for them, and that just makes my heart happy. So, that was pretty special too.
So,
the other
Darlene,
thing, I was just gonna say,
go
the
ahead.
other thing, if you read those, is we had a Yahtzee tournament during chemo all the time. That was what we did to pass time. And somebody just asked me the other day, I have a Zoom with my high school classmates every other week, and they're like, Dart, how did that Yahtzee tournament turn? I said, you know what? We tied 28 all. I had to look back in my notes, but we tied. So he better not be up there telling anybody that he won that tournament, because he didn't.
Wow, God, it's a beautiful story, beautiful journey,
It is.
beautiful marriage.
It really
Yes,
is.
thank you so much.
So thank you for sharing it with us. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Carmen, I cut you off. Did you have something to ask me?
I just had a quick question about the Caring Bridge. What was the significance of cardinals that you put on the?
I have always heard that cardinals are a sign that someone in heaven is thinking about you. And we have cardinals here in Tennessee, and I just love them. The first time I ever saw one was in Massachusetts, when I went with my dad. Grew up in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and so that was the first time I'd ever seen one. And I just think they're beautiful birds. And then we'd see them in Illinois, and then I started hearing about how they're like a sign that someone in heaven is thinking about you. And if you read the post, you can see that they showed up at times when I really needed them. And I just felt like it was my mom or dad or Ose's mom. And I just feel that I love the Cardinals. They always will have a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I can tell they were very special to you.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Well, if you guys have some more questions, you can check out what is it, Coach's Wife, or what is the organization again?
AFCWA, American Football Coaches Wives Association. And please, if you're a coach's wife, any level, high school to pro, get involved. You can join. It's $30 for a membership. You can join on the website, and there'll be information about the convention coming up. And everybody's welcome. We'd love to meet you and love to get to know you.
All right. Well, look, this has been a great show right here at Can We Talk Sports. Join us Sunday when we're going to bring another great show. But this your girl Shannon at Can We Talk Sports. I'm here with my hosts.
This your girl Karen. Can We Talk Sports?
Miss Darlene, I'm really working on her. I'm really working on her intro.
Karen, is it Karen, aka Karen?
AKA Karen. No, wait, no. Wait, Karen is AKA K-Dog.
K-Dog. K-Dog.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is Carmen, AKA Mama D.
All right. So Carmen got it down, AKA Mama D's right here. Okay.
I got to get the flavor in there, though. Shannon, like Mama D.
The shimmy in there. All right. So listen, join us Sunday at 9 right here on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Can We Talk Sports? You guys, see you later.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.